Welcome to this full body Pilates routine for dancers. Starting with some breath work, I want you to make sure that your shoulders are away from the headrest, your neck is nice and long, taking some deep inhales and exhales. I've got my feet here on the bar and I'm just in a comfortable position. I'm wanting to start to activate my lower core as I breathe, activating my pelvic floor. I'm going to just kind of tilt back and forth from side to side. What I'm looking for is a neutral spine, an even effort between my abs and my back. You can take some kind of windshield wiper knees to the side and over to the other side. And once you're ready, we're gonna go ahead and press back. Core is engaged, lower abs are engaged. Ribs are zipped in as if they had a corset around them. And you're just using your legs, pushing through the heels, exhaling on the way out, inhaling on the way in. My feet are just in a parallel position here. It's a great place to start. You'll feel a nice amount of decompression while you're doing this footwork. Your shoulders are pressing away from the shoulder pads. Your heels are pressing away as you press back. Exhale as you press back. Inhale as you come forward. And let's go ahead and speed this up slightly just to get the blood flowing and to get a little bit more work into those large muscle groups to warm us up even further. Okay, changing our foot position to a wide second position. Same thing, you want to exhale as you press back, and you want to really make sure those lower abs are engaged, your neutral spine is there, everything is nice and working. Although it's a leg exercise, if you incorporate the core, you're already strengthening from the very beginning of your workout. Now we're going to internally rotate, press back, externally rotate, come in. Internally rotate, press back, externally rotate, come in. This will start to warm up your hips. I love this exercise. It's a wonderful way of dynamically stretching the hips as well as beginning to bring some blood flow and some work there. Great for every dancer. Good, and go ahead and do those windshield wiper knees again. You're gonna feel a nice little stretch in through the hips there. And now we're just moving to a parallel close first position, zipping up through the thighs, all the way through the legs as you press away. So now we're working core, we're working inner thighs, and we're just really heating up the legs. Moving into some prancing, one heel falls below the foot bar at a time. Just warming up through the feet, through the ankles, stabilizing there. Starting to wake up the muscles in your feet, articulating through the foot. All right, and we're gonna bring the heels under the bar, bend at the knees, press away. Your exhale is still on the way out, under the bar, bend at the knees, press away. Are your lower abs still engaged? How are your ribs? Making sure to maintain that neutral spine and reverse the direction. Exhaling away, inhaling, coming in. Now every time you come in, no matter what footwork exercise we're doing, you can think about squeezing through the hamstrings. And let's just do some calf raises here in parallel, maintaining that neutral position, exhaling on the exertion. And let's move to a first position here, toes still on the bar. Exhale, zipping up through the inner thighs. And calf raise under, come all the way home. Calf raise under, come all the way home, press away. As you press away, you're engaging through the quads, you're engaging through the hamstrings. And let's stay and do some calf raises here in first position. Coming all the way home. Bring the knees into the chest and just shake out the feet a little bit. You may feel a little bit of cramping. Bring them up to a 90-degree angle and just shake out. Rolling the ankles a bit. 2 reds and 1 blue here. We're in first position. As you press away, your right foot is up to the ceiling. You're coming out to a second position, passe, and then bringing that foot back up to the ceiling as you bring the carriage home. Now here in this exercise, you want to make sure that you're really keeping your core engaged. You want to make sure that your hips are staying stable. So as you bring that leg out to second position, you want to make sure you're not dumping all of your weight to the right side. Keep that left hip down. Working one leg at a time is a really great way to see where you're weak. See your weak side and strengthen your weak side. Same thing on the other side here. Left leg comes up to the ceiling, out to second as you press away, into passe, and back up to the ceiling. Exhale here, inhale, and up. Exhale as you press away, inhale, and exhale. Good, and coming in, switch your spring load to 1 red and 1 blue. Grabbing the short loops, we're going to move into supine arm work. So bringing the knees to a 90-degree angle, we're pressing the arms straight down to the carriage. You don't have to slam down on the carriage. Hovering just a bit over the carriage as you bring your arms down. Exhale on your way down, squeezing the abs in. If you choose, you can lift the head up, head and neck up. Make sure you're not using the work coming from your neck. You're using your abs to curl up. You're using your ribs. All of the muscles within your core are working hard to squeeze in. You can bring your legs out to a 90-degree angle, maintaining that neutral spine the whole time. Okay, bringing the arms out to 90 degree and then into the side of the body. Here you want to engage through the ribs, your armpits, your lats, all these are working hard. You should see your hands in your peripheral vision here. Pull from the ribs and the lats and not necessarily from the arms. We're using the core still. In every exercise, I want you to continue to come back to the idea that you're using your core. Bringing the legs up to a 90-degree angle, feet are pointed, coming out to a slight second position straddle. As your arms go out, the legs go out. As your arms come in, the legs come in. Lifting the head if you like. And also if you'd like, you can add a flex on the way out, a point on the way in. Articulating through the legs, getting some dynamic stretching going on in through the legs, waking your whole body up. Exhaling as you squeeze in. Inhaling out. Exhale in. Pull the navel towards the spine and keep your low back neutral throughout the whole exercise. Back to that tabletop, and we're just going to move into some arm circles. Again, you want to think about your abs, your ribs, your armpits, your lats working here, not necessarily just pulling from the arm. Wherever you can incorporate more muscles to engage and work, that's going to make you stronger and leaner and longer and reverse directions. Exhaling on the way down, inhale up and around, and take a break. You can rock your hips from side to side just to kind of ease any tension there. And coming back into your tabletop position, arms right over the shoulders. And as you press down, you're just going to keep the elbows down now and bend at the elbows. And you should feel this in your triceps. If you want to make more ab-centered here, you can start to lift your head up. Exhaling on the exertion. inhaling back home. You can bring your legs out to a 90-degree angle as well. Exhale and inhale. Good. Coming back and take a rest. You're going to put your feet into the long straps, same spring load, and we're going to begin some feet in strap work. Just doing some leg lowers at this point, just to warm up through the back, just to get your hips stable. Make sure that you maintain that neutral spine. You want to keep your legs zipped up together as if you had a $100 bill in between those legs and you don't want to let it go. Engaging through the abdominals, stabilizing through the back, and maintain the position of the back and pelvis throughout this movement. You want to make sure your tailbone is not coming up at the top of every single leg lift and lower. You want to keep a nice stable position with the tailbone. You should feel a good stretch through the hamstrings here. You're still working your abs. Surprise, surprise. Exhale down, inhale up. And go ahead and internally rotate. So you're going to turn in from the hip. This is an awkward position for a dancer, I know, but you want to make sure that you strengthen the internal rotation as much as you strengthen the external rotation, because believe me, it will encourage your turnout even further. And coming to a nice externally rotated position, and we're doing a frog. So this is essentially a first position, and you are just doing a plie laying down. You can point on the way out, flex on the way in, exhale on the way out. Using your hands as markers if you need to make sure that you're hitting that 90-degree angle and not coming farther. Now we're coming to a 45-degree angle, and you're going to bend one knee and straighten the other leg, alternating. Coming back to 45, bending one, straightening the other. The bent knee can have a flexed foot, and the straight leg can have a pointed foot. This feels really lovely. You're getting work through the inner thighs, you're stabilizing through the hips by keeping your lower abs engaged, your neutral spine, but you're also getting a really lovely dynamic stretch here. And let's go ahead and move into some leg circles. Keeping that lumbar stability, that neutral spine, externally rotating as you come through, parallel up to 90, and externally rotate as you come around through. Exhaling there. Inhale up, and exhale, keeping that core nice and stable. Making sure to keep your feet and your legs even. You can see out of your peripheral vision what's going on. Go ahead and switch directions, and you want to make sure that you're evenly working through each leg. Externally rotating. Here on this side, you're exhaling as you're coming up to 90, inhaling down and around, exhaling up to 90. And stop and take a breath. And you want to just come to a nice second position here, a straddle, stretching through the inner thighs. I'm a big believer of, moving slightly, just wiggling around slightly if you need to, finding those spots that are tight and just releasing them. Coming into a butterfly stretch here. Good. And go ahead and take the straps off your feet. Roll on up, and you're just going to bring your spring load to one red, and we're going to do a nice amount of stretching here. So bring the right foot strap to your right ankle, and we're keeping both feet parallel here. You can grab on to the ropes if you need to just increase your stretch. Circling the foot, whatever feels good here. I'm going through what I need, but you go through what you need. Making sure that we hit all the positions here, so staying parallel. I've brought my foot down to the floor, down by where the springs are, and that gives a nice extra stretch through the hip flexor on the left side there and through the quad. Make sure you're continuing to breathe. We're going to come out to a second position here. So the right leg comes out to a second position, but I want you to keep your hips stable by bringing your left foot onto the foot bar, also in a second position. Bending, flexing, pointing, whatever you need to do to feel a little bit of stretch there. It's definitely less about work, more about letting your body stretch passively here. And go ahead and externally rotate and bring your foot across your body. Now, everybody's different here. The outer hip is somewhere that can be really painful because you're constantly turning out. So find what works for you. You may need to bend a little bit and stretch. You may want to stay in a static hold with a straight leg. Now go ahead and bring the strap to that arch of that foot, and we're going to take the left foot into a figure 4 stretch. Using the left elbow to press against the left foot if you like. Again, you can move the foot strap forward and backward. Find a place that works best for you for this stretch. Make sure you're breathing, and go ahead and take that foot strap off, and let's switch to the other side. Parallel rolling the ankle if you did on the other side. Getting a nice stretch in the belly of that hamstring on the left side. The right foot down between the springs and get a stretch in the hip flexor and into the quad of that right leg. Flexing, pointing, whatever you need to do, stretching, bending. Make sure you're breathing. Big inhales, big exhales. Let with each breath your body become more flexible. And coming out to a second position stretch on the left side. Again, holding on to the ropes if you would like to add a little bit more pressure to that stretch to stretch yourself further. Right hand is going to come to the right knee, and you're going to press down, keeping the hips stable, and go ahead and stretch that way. Bending in that left knee on occasion if you need to. It's almost like a half happy baby, and coming back out to a straight position. And again, coming across the body, externally rotating from the hip first, and then reaching that leg across. The foot on the foot bar can either stay straight or bent. And finding the place where you need the most stretch and breathing into those tight muscles. Coming back up to center, bringing the foot strap on the arch of the left foot and bringing the right foot into a figure 4 stretch. Again, whatever feels good to you. I'm dynamically rocking back and forth in my hip to find those little places that need a little bit more oxygen and a little bit more stretch. Make sure you're breathing and come on out. Go ahead and put one blue on the spring load, and we're going to move on to kneeling abdominals facing the back of the carriage. So knees are right against the shoulder rest. You want to think about pressing your feet into the carriage, engaging through the lower abs, wide through the collarbones, and you're going to use the abs, rocking back and forth here, finding that neutral position, engage the lower core, and pull forward. Rather than using the hip flexors, think about using those low abs to pull in. And imagine as if your bottom half of your body was a dead weight. You're truly trying to isolate into the core here, exhaling on the exertion. So that means exhaling as you bring your abs in, bring your knees in, inhaling as you come back with control. Keeping the pelvis level here, and go ahead and stretch back and just take a little break. Pelvic floor is active, low abs are active. We're going to bring both of our arms to the left side of the carriage, to the left side of the reformer, and we're going to do the same thing. So now your low abs are working, your pelvic floor is working, your obliques are working. Again, try your hardest, it's a little hard here, to press the feet into the carriage and work strictly with the abs. And move it to the other side, same thing, reinforcing that spine position and very neutral spine. and squeezing in through the obliques and in through the abs. Trying not to let your shoulders hunch up to your neck. And sit back and take a well-deserved stretch. Rolling up and just stretching a little bit out here. Roll the neck, roll the shoulders. And now go ahead and grab your long box. You're going to bring the foot bar down out of the way, and you're going to have one red spring. You want the box to hit right below your chest. So if you were wearing a heart rate monitor, it's like right where that would be. Now engage through the legs, engage through the abdominals, even though you're laying on your abdominals, shoulders down and back, and we're pulling the ropes straight back. Your gaze can be slightly in front of you. You're not fully arched, but you're not completely relaxed. You're pulling the straps towards the hips, and you're returning to the starting position as you maintain the abdominal lift and the position of the shoulder blades. Now we're going to move on to tricep extension. So you're going to keep your arms where they are, pulled back by your body and just bending at the elbow. Long back, active abs, active legs. Legs are shooting towards the back of the room. Arms come out to a T and to your sides. It's like an airplane arm. Using the abs, the back, the arms, not letting any tension come into your neck. And go ahead and come back and relax. Coming back up, engaging through the low abs, through the pelvic floor, engaging the arms, engaging the legs, pressing back, and now you're going to add a little bit of a back extension, a little bit of an arch. Now, if you have a higher extension, absolutely go for it, but make sure that you have control while you do this. This thoracic extension, you want to make sure you don't have any pinching going on. Make sure your abs are still engaged. Changing your spring load to one red and one yellow, we're going to move into long box overhead press. So again, abs are engaged. First thing, pelvic floor is engaged. Legs are active. Elbows shoot out to the side. This is going to be fairly easy initially, but it will get harder quickly. So that's why I have a red and a yellow on. As you press away, you're exhaling, using the abdominals, sliding the scapula down the back, and pressing the bar away while keeping the torso on the box. We're going to do a different arm variation here. So elbows down to the side, roll the shoulders back and away from the ears if they've crept up. And now you're really working through the triceps as you do this overhead press. But again, your whole body is staying engaged. You should start to feel this about this point. And now we're going to move into a diamond shape. So you want to have your hands almost touching, your elbows are directly out to the side, and your hands are right in the center of the foot bar, almost in a little diamond shape if you can manage it. This, after this progression, should start to feel really hard. So just make sure that you still have your core engaged, your legs shooting back, and your arms are definitely working at this point. Exhale on the way away from the bar, inhale as you come back home. Okay, bring your hands out to that first overhead press position that we had, engaging through the abs, pressing away, keeping the arms straight, and lifting the body up. You can look up at the top. This is just a extension of the back, a little bit of a release. It's going to help you with your extension, but it's also just a stretch, and it feels really good. You can round up into it, you can stay straight and head on up. Play with it. See what you prefer. You can inhale on the way up to your arch, or you can exhale on the way up. If you were to exhale on the way up, you would be really engaging your core a little bit more. And if you inhale on the way up, you're just mostly using it as a stretch. So there's no right or wrong way to do this. Just see what feels best. And now playing with some variations here. We're pressing away and curling up. And now moving into some swan circles. So pressing up, pushing away, bending at the elbows, pressing up, pushing away, bending at the elbows. And coming on back. Come off your box. Keeping that red and yellow spring, we're going to move into elephant. So initially here, I just want to do the first half of this exercise as a bit of a stretch. You're going to keep the core still engaged. Arms are about shoulder width apart, and you're going to feel a lovely stretch in through the hamstrings. Make sure you don't let the carriage just slam back to home. You are using your core a bit, but this is more about getting a good stretch through the hamstrings. Keeping the feet parallel, exhaling on the way in. You should feel a lovely stretch through the heels, through the back of the calves, through the hamstrings, engaging the abdominals to draw the carriage back in, flexing at the hips and maintaining a flat back here. As you move through this dynamic stretch, you can feel where you can go a little bit farther back, and you can feel where you can really start to engage through the core even more. Good, bringing those hands in just a little bit more and stretching. Wagging the hips from side to side. This is absolutely my favorite stretch. Letting the head dangle side to side. And go ahead and bring your hands carefully down to the carriage and take that yellow off. So you've got one red. We're going to go back to that starting position, hands overhead, about shoulder width apart, bringing the carriage back and using the abdominals completely to bring this in. This is no longer really about a stretch. It's much more about working through the core. Exhale on the way in to bring that carriage home. You may find that you're not going to go as far back, and that is totally fine because you don't want to lose control here. It's a light spring load. Exhale, use those lower abs, use the pelvic floor. Knit the ribs together, use everything you've got, and really heat up that core. The more strength you have in the core, the more flexibility you'll be able to achieve. Okay, bringing the right hand down, twisting over to the left. You can grab the side of the carriage to get a nice twist there, and switching directions. Making sure to breathe through your stretches. Good job. And coming down to your knees. All right, we're gonna move into long stretch here. I've switched to a red and a blue, but if you want more of a challenge, you can keep it at that red and yellow. Engaging the core, coming to a plank position with your nose over the bar and pressing back, piking up, carriage home, press back into your plank. Pike up, bring the carriage home, nose over the foot bar. Exhale on the way out, pike up and inhale home. Exhaling on the way out. Now come all the way to your plank position, and we're just going to come forward and back in this long stretch here. Planking back, all the abs are engaged, core is engaged, legs are working, arms are working. Such a full body, wonderful exercise to really heat up through the whole body and gain strength everywhere. Come to a resting position here and just stretch it out through the hamstrings. Now come to one red, and we're going to go for a hip stretch here. If you have a studio reformer, you can bring your toes all the way to the front edge of that. With the ALLEGRO, it's a little bit hard to do that just because there's that knob there. But we're just pressing back, left knee is staying on the carriage as you press away. And when you're ready, you can go ahead and hold that stretch. A little neck roll feels wonderful here. Coming back up, and you can move into a hamstring stretch here as well. Making sure to breathe through your stretches. Make it an active stretch through the hamstrings by coming in and out. And then we can go hip flexor stretch, hamstring stretch. Press back hip flexor, exhaling. Press back hamstring stretch, exhaling. Feel free to hold wherever you need to. You don't need to do the same pace as me. And come around to the other side to stretch the left leg. Starting with those dynamic stretches for the hip flexor. Again, as we're doing these dynamic ones, I don't like to just completely dump into my hip flexor and put too much stress on it at first. I'm still slightly engaged through the core. My body's not collapsed down. I'm not just dumping into the stretch. I'm using some round back. I'm using some flat back, whatever feels good to you. And when you hold that stretch, then you can kind of move into a passive stretch, really allowing the hip flexor to stretch. And moving into a dynamic hamstring stretch mixed with the hip flexor stretch. Exhaling as you press away, inhaling, come home, and exhale, press away and stretch. Breathing here. Grabbing the carriage from the side here and really pulling away, getting some traction in through the spine, moving the neck back and forth, plie here. And you're going to go ahead and roll up. One vertebrae at a time, slowly as you need to. Rolling the shoulders back, taking a look up to the ceiling. Deep breath in and exhale. One more time, in. Standing tall and exhale. And that's the end. I hope you guys enjoyed this full body workout.